Hi class. Today we will discuss pre-pregnancy and prenatal development issues using two theories, presented by Isis Wilson, Leisha Dorsami, and Tashana King. Okay, so today, through this presentation, we will discuss the pre-pregnancy and prenatal developmental issues through the lens of ecological and system theory. Let's jump right in. First, we will discuss ecological theory. The key concepts discussed in this theory are the following: adaptation, the ability of individuals to adjust to their environments; coping, the ways in which individuals deal with negative events and situations; energy, the active engagement of people with their environments; interdependence, the reciprocal and mutually reliant relationships that people have with one another and with their environments; social environment, the conditions, circumstances, and human interactions that encompass human beings; transactions, communication, interactions, or exchanges that occur between people and their environments. These can be positive or negative communications or exchanges. Some say it is impossible to mention an ecological theory without mentioning Yuri Bronfenbrenner. Yuri Bronfenbrenner was a Russian-born American psychologist who studied at several prominent American universities to gain his education in psychology. After receiving his bachelor's degree in psychology at Cornell University, he then gained his master's degree in education at Harvard University. His academic career continued as he graduated with a PhD in developmental psychology from the University of Michigan. After several career changes, such as being a military psychologist in the Second World War and an assistant professor at the University of Michigan, Bronfenbrenner then became a professor at Cornell University, where he taught human development. During Bronfenbrenner's time teaching at Cornell, he co-founded the Head Start program. This program was created to provide health, education, and several other services to low-income children. His ecological systems theory explains the relationship between human development and an individual's environment. Instead of assuming that people mature and develop in an isolated environment, he reports the intimate to a larger environment that surrounds a person have an extraordinary effect on the way they function as adults. The different experiences that people go through and the way they perceive the experiences have a significant influence on their development. Bronfenbrenner created 4 levels to describe and give researchers a better understanding of how several environments can interact with one another in a person's life. The ecological theory and its 4 systems. Microsystem. This is an individual's immediate environment that includes places like school, work, and home. Mesosystem. This describes the relations that several microsystems have with one another, such as the way school life can have an effect on the way a child behaves at home. Exosystem. This system describes the social settings that occur around a particular individual, such as church events, school board meetings, and city hall meetings. Whether or not a person may play a significant role in this environment, they can be indirectly affected by what happens in these settings. Macrosystem. The macrosystem contains the largest grouping of social factors that can have a profound effect on a child's development. This includes cultural and political laws or beliefs that has an influence on the environment in which a child is raised in. Now, let's watch a movie to help us put these 4 systems into context.
Let's learn about Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems model. This model explains how a child's development is affected by their social relationships and the world around them. We will use my friend Darla as an example.
We will start with the microsystem. The microsystem includes those who are closest to me. This obviously includes my parents due to their direct influence on my life. This also includes my high school and my superhero friends that helped me fight crime. And it includes my neighbors, the zombos. They have some great barbecues during the summer. Next is the mesosystem. As I was saying,
The mesosystem consists of the interactions between the parts of your microsystem.
an example is the relationship between my parents and my friends. They don't like my friends, which can make it hard to be a superhero. Next is the exosystem.
The exosystem includes settings that have an indirect influence on you.
This is where my mom works. It is part of my exosystem because what happens to her at work has an indirect impact on me. My exosystem also includes the evil layer of my nemesis. My school superintendent's office is also in my exosystem because decisions made here affect my school and teachers. Finally, we have my macrosystem.
The macrosystem includes the cultural environment and systems in which you live.
Growing up as a United States citizen is part of my macrosystem, and our customs and traditions too.
Finally, we have the chronosystem. This includes transitions and events that occur over time during your life.
And that is Bronfenbrenner's model.
During the pre-pregnancy natal stage, the ecological and environmental factors that can affect the development of a child in utero will be dependent on the society in which the mother must experience every day. In regards to the microsystem, there are various factors that can have a significant impact on a pregnant mother and her unborn child. Mental readiness and self-esteem are factors that need to be addressed when determining if a prospective mother will be prepared enough to care for a child. An unplanned pregnancy is definitely something to account for when figuring out if a mother is mentally, emotionally, and financially prepared to care for another human being. Age is also an important factor to consider, especially if the parent individual is still in adolescence. Without access to quality education and information on prenatal care and parenting, a pregnant mother could be put at significant disadvantage during and after pregnancy. A lack of prenatal care knowledge can be seen within the workplace as well. Many places of employment fail to consider the importance of a mother's presence in the early stages of a child's life post-maternity leave. To care for a child is a constant responsibility outside of the workplace, and unfortunately, many jobs fail to accommodate to these necessities. If an individual is pregnant and has to take unpaid maternity leave, this can result in an extraordinary loss of income, which will ultimately affect one's home life. This connection between work and home life stems from the mesosystem level of the ecological theory. A loss of wages can put one's housing stability in jeopardy, which can tap on emotional and psychological stress. A decision between working and having a family should not have to be made because of workplace policies disregard to the importance of consistent parenting on child development. When decisions like these have to be made, most women make the decision to have and care for a family, but without a steady form of income, poverty can take a devastating toll. The ecosystem encompasses the larger community that an individual may not be directly involved in, but can be affected by indirectly. This can include the prospective mother's perception of events such as the glamorization of adolescent pregnancy and promiscuity. A recent national survey showed 1 in 4 adolescent females aged 14 through 19 had an STD. With lack of efficient and affordable healthcare available, these adolescent women will not have information of preventative practices and could have a higher chance of living with untreated STDs. Without care, untreated STDs can result in serious health consequences, including pelvic inflammatory disease, ectopic pregnancy, chronic pelvic pain, and infertility. These health concerns could severely affect the psychological stability of the individual and the health of their future child, if they are still fertile. The cultural beliefs and community policies that influence a woman's environment can be detrimental to pregnant women. These environmental issues can include racism, discrimination, religious beliefs, and laws. The laws that can affect women during pregnancy include abortion laws, unaffordable health care, unpaid maternity leave, among other restrictive laws that can affect women. Racism and discrimination has the ability to influence a larger community where residents of impoverished neighborhoods are forced to experience violence, lack of resources, and being ostracized in regards of funding and legislative support. The domains addressed clearly in this theory are physical, social, emotional, cognitive. The domains not clearly identified are language and moral. The theory as a whole addressed physical and social domains, as all of the systems listed describe different aspects of a person's environment. The physical environment and the social setting that are incorporated within these specific groups. The emotional and cognitive realms are presented when discussing the impacts that each environment can have on individual mindsets, pre-pregnancy, and on a fetus in utero. The moral domain is vaguely addressed when speaking about legislation and cultural beliefs, but it is not clearly described. The language domain does not apply to this particular theory. The theory is applied to the real world in regards to advocacy. In the social work field, the ecological theory is beneficial to social workers who can gain a greater understanding of the various outside influences that can affect a prospective mother and the proper development of their fetus. A child in utero is susceptible to various factors within a mother's environment, whether the woman is affected directly or indirectly. It is important that social workers understand these variables so they can properly educate, support, and advocate for their pregnant clientele. While the ecological theory takes a slightly broader view by looking at the settings in which people play out roles and how aspects of these settings might interact to impact their functioning, the system theories focus on the roles that people assume to bring order to their system. The key terms and definitions related to this theory are system, sets of parts that are interdependent and make up an organized whole; boundaries, patterns of behaviors that define relationships within systems and give systems their identities; homeostasis, the tendency that systems have to work toward and maintain stability and equilibrium; subsystems, secondary, smaller systems within a larger system; roles, socially or culturally sanctioned patterns of behaviors expected of individuals within a system; reciprocity, the necessity for a change in one part of the system to impact other parts of the system. In 1949, German biologist Ludwig von Bertalanffy first used the general systems theory. He devised a theory that could be used to explain how organisms work. This could be achieved by studying the transactional processes happening between different parts. He understood that the whole was greater than the sum of its parts, and when using this theory, we could observe patterns in the way relationships were organized in any living system. Each system is interdependent of each other. However, when combined, they make up an organized whole. Gregory Bates in 1973 and others in the USA took this concept of a general systems theory and combined it with the new science of cybernetics. They then applied it to social systems such as the family. Cybernetics had introduced the idea of information processing and the role of feedback mechanisms in regulating mechanical systems. Bateson utilized this notion to argue that families were systems involving rules of communication and the regulatory function of feedback that influenced patterns of behavior within them. Hence the systems theory, which views human behavior as an active interactions between people and their social systems.
Enjoy this clip from A Christmas Story where we see some of the dysfunction in the family caused by behaviors of others. Implicitly, Mom is always expected to serve dinner and Dad sits at the head of the table, trying to ignore what's going on. Little brother has few rules because Mom just wants him to eat. Mom's positive feedback to him causes him to continue the behavior. Dad gets annoyed and falls back on threats, which is his circular pattern. Ralph tries to be passive and not create any more waves at the dinner table.
Every family has a kid who won't eat. My kid brother had not eaten voluntarily in over 3 years.
Randy, don't play with your food. Eat it. Starving people would be happy to have that.
Can I have some more red cabbage?
You stop playing with your food or I'll give you something to cry about. You better stop fooling around with that and eat it or you'll be sorry.
Oh, can I please have some more?
My mother had not had a hot meal for herself in 15 years.
Meatloaf, double beetloaf. I hate meatloaf.
All right, I'll get that kid to eat. Where's my screwdriver, my plumber's helper? I'll open up his mouth and I'll shove it in.
Randy,
My mother was more subtle.
how do the little piggies go? That's right. Oink, oink. Now, show me how the piggies eat. This is your trough. Show me how the piggies eat. Be a good boy. Show mommy how the piggies eat. Mommy's little piggy.
The systems theory can be focused on the many different systems such as education, religion, family, media, economic, etc. that contribute towards an individual. Today, our focal point surrounds how individuals interact with a number of systems during the pre-pregnancy, prenatal period. Human beings, especially women, experience many mental, physical, emotional, and social changes throughout pregnancy. However, pre-pregnancy prenatal risks are rarely ever discussed. According to the March of Dimes, 1 out of 9 babies are born prematurely in the United States. One critical issue surrounding preterm babies is low birth rate. Risk factors that can contribute to a low birth weight in preterm babies include smoking, disease, maternal age, drug abuse, malnutrition, and excessive stress. During the pre-pregnancy prenatal period, mothers of all ages are susceptible to a number of problems which stem from different systems associated within an individual. A young mother is more prone to low birth weight babies, preterm babies, and stress due to unknown family and society acceptance. This is a factor of her interaction with her family system and her social system, thus ultimately becoming stressed and endangering the health of her unborn child. Another system that can cause issues is the medical system. African Americans in the United States have unequal access to health care compared to Caucasians and Hispanics. As a result, African American mothers are more likely to have preterm babies and negative birth outcomes. The social system for an individual is one of the largest influencers for an individual. A young woman in her prime surrounded with risk-taking friends is not thinking of the consequences of her actions. Drug abuse, smoking, drinking, improper nutrition can all contribute to complications early in pregnancy. The domains addressed in this theory are cognitive, physical, social, emotional, and moral. Systems theory is exactly what it sounds like, a bunch of systems connecting to make a whole. The cognitive, emotional, and moral domains are represented through the mental aspect of this period. A mother deciding whether to have an abortion is a very difficult situation, and it is one that cannot be done alone. She requires support from other domains, physical and social. Family, friends, medical professionals, and social workers are all effectively work together to support not only a mother in this situation, but all mothers and fathers in whatever problem they might be experiencing, whether it be preterm babies, abortion, birth defects, fertility issues, drug abuse, or stress. The systems theory provides a broad look at client problems, and it considers people as active, living beings who are an integral part of a dynamic environment. Through the use of tools such as ecomaps and genograms, social workers are able to delve deeper and uncover underlying issues. Professionals use this theory to explain behavior and problems, and they go a long way to inform and educate clients about interventions necessary for further self-development. The picture seen on this screen is a genogram. Alright, well, that's it, class. I hope you guys enjoyed our presentation. Please feel free to look at the references if you would like to read more about the ecological and systems theory. Thank you.